Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to A Black Girl's Guide to Mental Health. It's me, the Black Girl, it's this, the mental health, and it's her. I'm drinking a nice iced chai latte. Literally, this drink has me on a chokehold like since forever, since I've tried it. So now I used to go to Starbucks and get a venti chai like multiple times a week. And then I figured out that like all the Starbucks chai is the Tazo tea that you can get at Walmart for like $3 for a whole carton. You know, like I spent like $6 on a venti chai and I can get a whole carton for $3 and it lasts for like a week. So like that's a lot of money I saved just making my little chai at home. I'm going to be drinking my chai. Grab a drink, grab a snack, let's have a chat. And today we're going to be talking about emotional immaturity. If it's your first time watching, my name's Staley. I'm just a random girl trying to get her mental health together so that she can laugh. Cool. If you guys have seen my last videos, my first one was just me rambling and trying to like literally figure it out because I was so confused when I first started my journey. My second one was still just like me rambling, but I come to a conclusion that I'm a liar. And now we are at the point where I confronted that I'm a liar, and now it's like, okay, what are we gonna do about it, right? And so really this is just a journey of self-discovery. If you're discovering yourself, follow along. Like we can talk about it and just like, I don't know, tit for tat, like what's going on with you, what's going on with me, is fine. But new development in like life. I went to the bookstore the other day. I ended up getting 2 books. One I'm going to share with you today because I finished one so far. That one is called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents: How to Heal from How to Heal from Distant, Rejecting, or Self-Involved Parents. Now, that's a lot. It's a lot in like just the cover, right? And honestly, when I walked into Barnes & Noble, I wasn't looking for anything in particular. Well, actually, I'm wrong. I was looking for something in particular, and it wasn't a self-help book in terms of like emotional immaturity or like parents. It was more of like this book of being in your 20s and like really learning what you want to do like while you're still in your 20s and young, you know. So I was on the lookout for that book, and unfortunately they didn't have it, but they did have this, and I was again just like kind of browsing, just picking up literally everything and seeing like if I could find anything interesting. And this is one of the books that I picked up. When I read the title, I was like, I don't think this applies to me like at all, because emotionally immature, I feel like this is a very charged word, especially when talking about like your mom or your dad. And I didn't really identify with that. Like it literally made me think like, are my parents emotionally mature? And I thought about it and I was like, I don't think so. But I have a rule that like when I'm looking for books, I have to at least read 1 page of the book before I'm like, okay, no. And I read 1 page of this book and I was like, oh, well, maybe I should pick this one. And so I read 1 page, and then I flipped over to like another random page, and I read that one. I'm like, okay, well, I may not identify with the title, but the contents of the book, like, girl. By page 4, I was shedding a few tears because I just never felt so seen as a person. Like, through reading this book, I was like, that's weird, but let's talk about it, okay? So as the title describes, this book is for people who have had experiences with emotionally immature people in their childhood. Even if you are a person who did not have those experiences as a child with emotionally immature people, the book goes deeper and outlines contents that can apply to like, even if you met someone who is emotionally immature now. My biggest takeaway from this book is that not everybody has a great childhood. I mean, I knew that before reading, but in looking through my own childhood, which I regard as like pretty good, shit happens and kids develop coping mechanisms. Oh my God, I cannot say that word. One more time. Shit happens and kids develop coping mechanisms, coping mechanisms that may or may not help them as they transition over to adulthood. And through those coping mechanisms, that's how we evaluate emotional maturity or emotional maturity. So I've been throwing around this phrase emotional maturity / emotional immaturity a lot so far. If we go by the book's definition, emotional immaturity is described as people who fear genuine emotion and pull back from emotional closeness, and who use coping mechanisms to resist reality rather than face it head on. So that was like in the book's introduction. We're not even at chapter 1 yet, babe. When I read that, I was like, oh shit. My parents, like that's me. I was like, oh no. And I was a little bit scared because, as I said, it was only the introduction and not even chapter 1. So I'm like, this book is about to read me to filth. I'm like, do I really want to like learn something about myself? But at that point I already paid like 20 bucks for it. So I'm like, okay, let's keep reading. So as you keep reading, the book describes two kinds of people. They describe an internalizer and an externalizer. So they say if you're an internalizer, you are a person who's very self-reflective and sensitive, and your main source of anxiety stems from feeling guilty when you displease other people, and you have like a fear of being exposed as an imposter. And then our next person, our externalizer over here, these people are described as people who take action before they think about things. So they tend not to be very self-reflective, and instead of blaming themselves for things that go wrong in life, they tend to blame others for things that turn into problems. So these people tend to act out and can be described as like a problem child growing up in school, right? Like we all had that one kid in class who like wanted to throw a desk or some shit. And they were probably an externalizer. Like that kid wasn't like inherently bad. They probably just had a lot of shit going on at home, and that's what happened. They had to throw a desk. Yes, somebody did throw a desk in one of my classes in school. Shout out Dexter Middle. But yeah, those are the two types of people that they describe in the book. And while nothing is wrong with either of these types of people, the book does suggest that either side of the spectrum can become more whole by adopting traits from one another. So internalizers can get better by externalizing their problems more, and externalizers can get better by being more self-reflective and looking inward. So there's nothing wrong with these two types of people. They just have to adopt and learn. But no, I identify with an internalizer, and if you do too, we're on the same path. So kudos to us. Internalizers tend to keep everything inside. So while they may seem like they're doing fine on the outside, inside is like fucking hell, like inner torment. It's I'm like over exaggerating, but like it's a lot. Short story long, if you want to learn more about an internalizer, because I feel like this could turn into a whole video, let me know. I'm fine with making videos on both internalizers and externalizers, even if I don't really identify with externalizers a lot. Like, I need to learn more from externalizers, so like I feel like researching more into it, it's not gonna like hurt me, so just let me know, it's fine. But when we are talking about both of these groups of people, internalizers and externalizers both connect with their families and others through the idea of a role self, because so like I was saying with the internalizer, hi me, because they may not feel comfortable in expressing themselves, and because the externalizer may not feel comfortable expressing themselves, they come up with a role that they have to play, right? I also had a role, and the book describes it as the idea of a role self. It is the role that they take on as children to survive in their family or friend structure. For example, say you're in a family structure to where you have mom, dad, brother, sister, and you're there too. And let's say like everybody's really loud and nobody listens to you unless you too are extremely loud. even though that's like against your nature, you adopting being loud in order to be heard, even though that's against your nature, would be an attribute of your role self and not your true self. But we're gonna get into true self a little bit later. But so while this role can help them, that child, stay afloat and hide their true feelings, this role is not a representation of the person's true self and can aid in suppressing the person's true thoughts, feelings, and emotions for an extended period of time. On that note, this book also contains stories from the therapist clients who were dealing with emotional immaturity and going through their journey. And having those stories as frames of reference, along with information that the author is giving you, was really cool because it allowed you to kind of like break down like what the factual information that was being said, which not all factual information is going to apply directly to you. So in that sense, it can kind of be a little hard to adopt an idea and turn a mirror on yourself and say like, okay, does that really apply to me? The stories help give a more nuanced approach because it allows you to be like, okay, well, Brenda went through A, B, and C. I went through B and C. What does that say about me? I say this because if you are in a position to where you're suppressing your thoughts and feelings for long periods of time, it's like, what's the outcome, right? So if you were not aware that you are experiencing or have emotional immaturity, you may go through your whole life and be living through the trauma that you faced as a child. You may still be living through your role self that you created when you were a child by the time you're 60. And the stories really help put that in perspective. They have a story about a guy who was unhappy in his marriage because although he really loved his wife, the wife was emotionally immature and it made him continue the role self that he had played since being a child, and he had to do the same performance for his parents. After all of those years had passed, I believe this guy was like maybe in his mid to late 30s. After all that time had passed, he finally realized like, oh shit, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't know, like this isn't me. But it took him all that time to like actually get to that point. But how do you know you're at that point, right? So it took him a long time to actually get to that point. And I should note that he didn't just wake up one day and was like, you know what, done. That didn't happen because I don't think he was aware of the role that he was playing. What happened was more of his relationship with his wife started breaking down because he could no longer function as that role self. So let's talk about why that happened. So when the role is played for too long, the breakdown starts to happen. So this can be shown through symptoms like depression, anxiety, chronic tension, even insomnia, like you can't sleep. So those, I have to say, like those are also symptoms of other things too. So if you have those things, you can't just jump directly to emotional immaturity as your problem. If you are experiencing those things, I do have to say, if you can afford to go see a therapist during these tough times, you know, try to go see a therapist. If you are not able to go see a therapist or a doctor, I would suggest talking to somebody, reaching out. If you're an internalizer like I am, that will be extremely hard to do. But I also suggest journaling. I love to journal. I have like right here, I have like 3 journals that I have 4 journals that I work out of, and it seems excessive, but like they all have different purposes. This is my main one, and like all my thoughts and feelings just about like my mental health journey go on this one. I always suggest getting a journal just because if you are not a fan of talking about your issues, at least you can write them down in a safe place, and hell, you can burn this after you're done with it, as long as you get it out of your system, right? Let me put these up. So back to what I was saying, but the breakdown can start to happen, and it can be shown through depression, anxiety, insomnia, chronic tension. And these for this instance, okay. For this instance, these are signs that your true self is tired of being hidden away and wants to finally live. It wants to come out. So if you are showing signs of emotional breakdown, understand that this has to happen in order for you to reorganize yourself and become a more emotionally immature person. So the guy that we talked about that realized he didn't like his wife anymore, sorry wife, he began experiencing problems in his marriage that led to a breakdown that made him realize, oh, wait, what's going on? Let me like backtrack a little. And he started going to therapy, seeing this therapist who wrote this book. He was able to come to the conclusion that he probably should get divorced. Ugh, yikes. Hey, talking about divorce, child divorced parents, ooh, love it. And personal little anecdote, I had to go through the same thing. Like, I didn't just like wake up one day and be like, okay, let's be better. I didn't know that I was playing a role self either. I just thought I was a introvert and I didn't like talking that much. I was just a little bit awkward. But not that I was playing a role self, that it helped me in my childhood. But when I realized that it wasn't something that was of me, right? It wasn't something that was a true reflection of me. It was something that I did to survive. I was like, oh, well, if I created this role self for survival and I don't need it anymore, that means I don't want to say create another role self because I don't want to do that, but like I can let it go and grow. So the process of doing that, breaking down in order to build yourself up, in the book, this process is called positive disintegration. Positive because you will become a better person, or I should say more true to yourself after taking your true self's advice and living more as you are. So after the book talks about, internalizers and externalizers and positive disintegration and breakdowns and the role self and a whole lot of other things, towards the end of the book, it talks about how to heal. So I've reached my little breaking point already, as I said, and to be honest, it was scary. Like, personally speaking, when dealing with my emotions, I tend to push them down and ignore them. And that was something that helped me survive my childhood. But I've done that for so long that when this breakdown, ooh, spicy, happened, like I literally didn't know what was going on. And yeah, I won't get fully into it, but I will say that looking back at that time, all that was happening is that my true self was tired of me suppressing my emotions, and at the time I had finally let my guard down long enough to where I could actually feel anger. Like I remember I had met this guy and we were talking, and we had been talking for a while, and he had asked me, he was like, don't you ever get angry? I'm like, no, not really. Which wasn't fully true. Like I you know, at times I did get angry, but like I would also think like, ooh, I shouldn't be angry. I would vilify my emotions. And if you read this book, it talks about understanding your emotions and not placing any good or bad labels on your emotions. Your emotions are there to help guide you, and you should be able to feel them so that they can guide you in the right direction, because that is your true self coming through. But I had reached a point in my mental health journey, whatever you want to call it, that my guard was down long enough to where I was actually able to feel my emotions during the time that this little breakdown was happening. And it was weird because the emotion was anger. And it was weird. Like, I never in my adult life, I don't think, like, just let myself feel anything like that. Like, I even think I threw something. I've never thrown anything out of anger before. but I threw something and I cried, and I wrote down in my journal like literally everything that I was feeling at the time. I was like, I have to get it out. And so I wrote, and it looks cool. If anybody ever saw that page, like I probably look like a fucking psycho. But I allowed it to happen. And then when it was over and like the emotion had passed through me, I was like, okay, so now what? And then I was able to just move on with my life instead of ruminating on the feeling, anger, and feeling bad that I was angry in the first place. I can say like that was a huge part of like, it was like a huge step in my self-development. And right now I'm at a place where I'm not scared or guilty of feeling emotions that would be considered bad, like anger or jealousy or disappointment. Now, is it hard for me to let these emotions come and go and like look at them objectively and see what this emotion is trying to tell me and my body? Hell yeah, it's hard. Like, I'm not used to it. I've 25 years of like saying, I'm not gonna be mad, I'm not gonna be angry, I'm not gonna do anything. 25 years of that, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. However, I am aware. I'm aware that I do that now. And so with that awareness, I'm able to now, even though it's a struggle, let my emotions come out. But I'm aware, and being aware is the first step to keep going at it. So yay, awareness. Anyways, next. Should you get this book? Short answer is yes. I definitely recommend this book. Like, even if you didn't have experiences with emotional immaturity as a child, there are emotional immature people walking around all over this earth. Like, I'm still one of them because I'm still learning. So you are very much have the opportunity to run into some emotionally immature people. Hell, you may already know some emotionally immature people. You may be the emotionally immature person, just as I am. And so this book, can help you identify emotional immaturity within yourself. It can help identify emotional maturity within your partner, your friend, your mom, your dad. And not only can you identify them, but this book also gives you tips and strategies on how to best deal with that emotionally immature person if you would still like to have them in your life, or if you've come to the point where it's like, ooh, I don't think I want you around anymore after trying and trying and trying. It also helps you with advice on how to set boundaries with this person or partner or whatever, so that you can remain in your maturity state and just, you know, bop along, which is cool. My biggest takeaway from the book was on the last paragraph of the last page, where it stated, so tell me, is it worth the pain to get to live twice in one life? And that really put it into perspective for me, because as the book is telling you these anecdotes and things like that, you realize that there are so many people who will die as their role self and never even truly get to experience life as they truly are. And there are people who die that are continuing to live life as they were, even when their true self is screaming, let me out, let me out. It's like that Rick and Morty episode, let me out, let me out. This is not a game. Besides the point. So people who are at the point in their lives where they are aware of their emotional shortcomings have an amazing opportunity to heal and live life as they truly are, and basically live a second life. So is it worth doing the emotional work necessary in order to live like a whole other life in like one lifetime? I mean, only you can answer that, but like for me, it's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. Like, I'm gonna have to try at least. Cause, I mean, like I say, I'm 25 years old, and honestly, even with me making it to this age and living as my real self from child until, let's say, earlier this year, I've lived a really good life. Like, I'm extremely fortunate. I've traveled, I've made friends, I've I have like pictures over here that I'm looking at, but like I've lived a good life, and a lot of the times I will like think back and like, oh, like I wish I was better back then when I had XYZ experience. Like I wonder what could have happened if I had opened up more, if I had stepped out and was just like able to be myself. But I can't live like that. I can't live life regretting. So instead of thinking of like the life that I could have had in the past if I were me, if I were like done with this whole healing journey thing, I think about this new life that I get to have now that I'm on my journey of self-discovery. And that's really exciting to me. Like, wow, even if my next 25 years aren't filled with travel and friends and yummy food, I am extremely excited to just live life as me. So if you are interested in getting this book, you can get it on Amazon using the link in the description box. So my channel isn't popping or anything. I have like 60 subscribers. Love you guys. Hi. I just make these videos for like myself and for fun. So I'm not making any coin if you like use the link in the description box, but I will say I do suggest that you use that link because I got this book for like $18.95 at Barnes & Noble. It's on Amazon for like $9. So save your money and get it on Amazon or just somewhere cheaper, who knows. Also, another cool thing about this book is that it has exercises that you can do to help identify emotional immaturity, to help identify if you are an externalizer or an internalizer, and how to identify emotionally mature people so that when you do meet new people, you're able to I feel like it's kind of weird to say like assess them because like you're not a doctor, like I'm not either, so I don't want to say like assess them, but say if something weird is going on within like a relationship or something, it can help you gauge whether that is coming from an emotional immaturity or maturity standpoint, and help you go through with that. Anyways, if you would like to access any of those exercises or quizzes, that link will also be below as well. You will need to make an account for the page, for the website that those exercises are on, but I believe it's free to do so, and then you can just download whatever you need. As always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on mental health. I also do travel vlogs when I'm able to travel, so if you want something more lighthearted and fun and not like let me self-evaluate my whole fucking brain, then you can check out those videos on my channel too. One is probably going to be at the end of this video. And if you have any questions about the book or anything that we touched on today, internalizers, externalizers, breaking down, all of that, you know, leave them in the comments below and we'll be in touch, okay? So thanks for watching again, and I'll